Once again, it's a pleasure to be able to share a message with you from this week's Parshat Emor. Sometimes driving down the road, someone will cut me off, and it will just make me so angry. Or they'll speed up and they'll ride the tail of my car, and that also makes me unnerved. And sometimes I get so angry, I just want to yell at them. And so when we get to a light, I think that to myself that I'll roll down my window and I'll scream something out at them. And this happens, and I turn to my wife and I say, "Can you believe how this person is driving? It's getting me so upset. I'm going to say something to them." And my wife always says, "Don't say anything, you're wearing a kippah." And I always wondered about what that phrase meant, what that idea was, and that is that I'm wearing a kippah. Should I not say something because I'm a reflection, therefore I'm my people? They'll see I'm wearing a yarmulke, and they'll say, "Oh, you see how Jews behave?" Or does the phrase, "I'm wearing a kippah," mean that I ought to find a way to behave more holy because I'm a representative of God, and that God, therefore, is judged based on how I behave? In this week's Parsha, we have this wonderful phrase, "Lo yichalu et shem Elohehem," that you shouldn't profane God's name. This idea of a chilul Hashem, the idea of profaning God's name through our behavior, is incredibly important as it demands of us a higher way of behaving. It says to us that the way we behave reflects not only on ourselves, but on our people and on our God. My mom used to say, "We don't behave that way," as if to suggest Stein's behaved of a higher caliber. Maybe she meant it because we were a rabbi's family and everybody was watching. Or maybe she simply meant that the way they had raised us was an indication of how we ought to behave and was a reflection on the family. This week's Parsha says to us, "Lo yichalalu et shem Elohehem," that you shouldn't profane God's name. Just as the priests were required to behave of a higher standard, so too we are a mamlechet kohanim v'goy kadosh. We're a holy nation and a kingdom of priests. And therefore the way we behave reflects on our people, on our families, on our nation, on our God, and of course on ourselves. The flip side of the coin, of course, is a kiddush Hashem, a sanctification of God's name. That is, the way we behave reflects not only negatively, but can as well reflect positively on the way people view our nation and most certainly our God. If we behave in a manner that is exemplary, people say, or we hope at least, that they'll say that we can be a representative of a people that behaves in the most high way. A few years ago, we began to hear of the news of Bernie Madoff. And the concern for most of us as Jews was not just the incredible loss of people's savings, of their retirement plans, but also how that would reflect on us as a people. The first thing that we think when we hear of a name in the news that sounds Jewish is, are people going to think that that's the way all Jews behave? What we do, how we behave, can be a reflection not only on our people and our God and on ourselves, but can have a lasting impression for those for whom and with whom we interact. This week's Parsha says, be careful on how you behave, because it reflects not only on yourself, but on others, and the impact that that will have is immeasurable. So I pray that in the coming week, we're able to behave in a manner that brings great glory, great sanctity to our people, to our God, and to ourselves, and never detracts from that. Have a wonderful day.